Sikhism is one of the youngest religions of our times. Its origin goes back to mid-15th century Punjab, the land of 5 rivers. Guru Nanak's message of one formless God still represents an important feature of the Sikh belief system. Nanak's Sikhism was essentially an endeavor to reform the inner self of human beings. Conceived as a faith for householders, it denounced all meaningless rituals and such external symbols as idols, temples and mosques, pilgrimage, caste and asceticism. The Sikh Guru emphasized on a person's attainability of God through his grace. That is why Nanak asked his disciples to lead a truthful living based on the dignity of labor.
Sikhism grew up as a religion of community. It was essentially dependent on the form of musical congregation called kirtan, and it was sung in religious place called dharamsal. Later on came to be known as Gurdwara. Its gates are all open to everybody, and it was representing the different shades of people and represented men of different communities.
During the early decades of 16th century, Sikhism remained a religion of such socially marginal groups as the artisans, craftsmen, small-scale traders and shopkeepers. Many also came from the ranks of laborers and shared badges of social stigma. The Sikh gurus shared their concern and gave voice to their sufferings and offered them an opportunity for mobilization.
Later on, during the Middle Ages, the larger part of India came to be united under the rulers of Sultan of Delhi. They not only brought the whole of northern India under one political banner, but they stimulated agricultural expansion, opened up new trade arteries, and gave rise to numerous occupational groups. Initially, Sikhism came from these groups and represented some of the lowest strata of the community. These social groups aspired for social recognition, and Guru Nanak's message provided them a space so that they could come forward and communicate their own life experiences. Sikhism was basically a religion of peasants of the central Punjab districts known as Majha. But all Sikh gurus were Khatris, because in Punjab, these Khatris were small-scale traders, and they were also intelligent, masters in different forms of administrative talents, and they realized that under the Delhi Sultanate, there is a need for growing social dialogue with the other cross-sections of the communities. This need for dialogue with the different groups of people greatly encouraged them to come forward and lead the community from the top.
Indigenous Khatri traders of central Punjab possessed some excellent qualities of leading the movement. Although they were small-scale traders operating mainly in the villages, they were widely travelled and managed to secure many administrative positions under different Delhi rulers. These forward-looking Punjabis were not only aware of the significance of relational adjustment with their Muslim neighbours, but also looked forward to some important modifications in social behaviours, religious beliefs and cultural practices.
This new social opportunity gave a new direction to Sikhism. Sikhism, therefore, was basically a religion of the lower community, and it was getting enough support from the peasantry, and its leadership was in the hands of the Khatris, the traders. So it was, in a sense, the religion of rural community. it was not essentially the faith of the urban population.
Nanak's 9 other successor gurus continued to lead the community till 1708. All regarded them as Nanak. In the perception of the Sikh faith, it not only communicated the voice of one person, but also signified the burning of light from the same lamp. It provided Sikhism with a period of unbroken leadership as well as cohesive ideals during its formative years of existence.
The first 5 Sikh Gurus were Guru Nanak. He was followed by Guru Angad, then by Amar Das, Ram Das and Arjan. These are the period of early Sikh tradition when community developed along the lines of peaceful transition. It was basically a religion of peasants, but it always subscribed to the message of one formless God, essentially communicating the spirit of love and toleration. Second Guru Angad is credited with the foundation of some of the basic Sikh institutions like langar, that is community kitchen, and he was also responsible for asking his followers to sit in a row without any caste restriction, that is pangat, and that is why Sikhism could generate a sense of caste-free social system in medieval Punjab. He was also credited with the creation of the Gurmukhi script. The third Guru was Amar Das. He is known for extending the urban limits of the faith. He led to the foundation of new urban centers, which reached a new height with the coming of the fourth Guru, Ram Das. He is credited with the foundation of Ramdaspur, which was later to grow up as Amritsar, the holiest of the Sikh cities. Then came the fifth Guru, who is Arjan Dev. He is a versatile genius, a great organizer, poet, editor, and he is credited with compilation of the Sikh sacred text, that is Adi Granth or the Guru Granth. The process of compiling the Sikh sacred text began with the early Gurus. Later Gurus continued it. Finally, it was with Guru Arjan Dev that the process reached its height, and he completed the process by editing it, restricting it to 1453 pages. It was all written in Gurmukhi script, and it came to be known as Guru Granth, and it was housed in the Harmandir Sahib of Amritsar. The Sikh sacred text had its other distinctiveness. It included the writings of sants and bhagats from different parts of India. For example, Jaidev from eastern India or from Namdev in western India found their place in the collection of Sikh sacred text. Guru Arjan Dev could collect them and translate them in proper Punjabi and gave them a unique form of expression in the Sikh sacred text. During the first Sikh Guru's time, the Mughal state was also generally very tolerant and cooperative towards the message of the Sikh Gurus. The process reached its high water mark during the time of Emperor Akbar. It is told in Sikh tradition that Emperor Akbar came down to Amritsar and held religious discussion with the fifth Guru.
With Emperor Akbar's passing away in the early 17th century, there were some significant changes in the Sikh-Mughal relationship. The new Emperor Jahangir had a different perception about the growing prosperity of Sikh Guru Arjan and his claim to be Sacha Badshah or true king. Besides the Guru's support to Mughal Prince Khurram in his struggle for throne after Emperor Akbar's death made him bitterly angry. Another important source of imperial annoyance was the Sikh Guru's appointment of a number of tax collectors for receiving tax. It added fuel to the fire of the Mughal imperial anger against Sikh Guru. Emperor Jahangir also made no secret of it in his autobiography Tuzuk-e-Jahangiri.
This growing differences of views between the Mughal emperor and fifth Guru Arjan culminated in his imprisonment and arrest. Finally, Guru was put to death in a very unfortunate manner in 1605. With Sikh Guru's death, Mughal-Sikh relationship no longer remained peaceful. The Sikh religious system increasingly became militant under the new sixth Guru, Har Gobind.
In the late 19th century, the Jats constituted a little over 60% of the total Sikh population. After the Mughal state handed the fifth Guru a tragic death, the sixth Guru, Guru Har Gobind, gave the call of arming the Sikh Panth on grounds of self-defense. It legitimized the growing Jat belligerency. Large-scale presence of Jats among Sikhs was welcomed, and it marked a sharp break from the peaceful Sikh tradition. Broadly speaking, Sikh militarization was justified for the future survival and self-defense of the community.
The early form of Sikhism underwent a significant change. It was no longer the faith always subscribing to the message of toleration, but it was ready to resist if there was any attack or any aggression on its own position. That is why it stimulated a period of Sikh-Mughal military encounter from the early years of the 17th century. It continued for another century till the last Sikh Guru Gobind Singh died in 1708. With Guru Har Gobind, Sikhism increasingly became a faith committed to militarism, and it provided an opportunity to many those communities who were not necessarily Sikhs but looking forward to a form of protest. So Sikhism provided a platform of protest of state's oppression upon the peasantry. So Sikhism increasingly took a mass character and provided space to many who were not necessarily the followers of gurus but subscribed to other religious faith. In essence, Sikhism by the late 18th century had become a religion of oppressed peasants of Punjab. During the same period, with the coming of Emperor Aurangzeb to the throne, there had been a significant change in the character of Mughal state policy. As there has been a steady rise in the expenditure of Mughal state, it felt it increasingly necessary to put additional pressure on the peasantry to yield more revenue. So this rising state demand upon the peasantry prompted them to raise their voice of protest. The ninth Sikh Guru, Tegh Bahadur, is told that he encouraged the rebel peasants of Karnal area to stick up arms and not to pay any tax to the Mughal state. As a result of his open defiance of the Mughal state authority, He was arrested, brought to Delhi, and subsequently he was beheaded in 1675. With the exit of ninth Guru Tegh Bahadur in 1675, his son, young Gobind Rai, took up the leadership of the community in a very critical period of its history. He devoted 20 years of his life to the learning different arts, from literary endeavor to military warfare. He mastered the courage, evolved a new ideology, and sought to execute it through his creation of the Khalsa. Khalsa means pure. In other words, it also suggests a direct relationship between the Guru and his disciple. Initially, Guru baptized his 5 disciples through double-edged sword or Amrit. Then Guru was baptized in the same process. Thus Guru became Chela, Chela became Guru, and the leadership thus vested in the hands of the community, though the Guru was still there alive to lead the community. So the new energy was institutionalized through the institution of the Khalsa, and Khalsa represents, the Khalsa asked its disciple to bear 5 Ks: Kesh, hair; Kanga, Kripan; Kach, Kara. So these were the 5 external markers which every Sikh male member should carry on any future occasion. And henceforth every male member should be having that surname Singh, the lion, so that there should be a commonality or uniformity. Henceforth, every Sikh was to regard his place of birth, Anandapur, where Khalsa was born, and henceforth the Sikh was committed to resist every form of military oppression, religious intolerance, and economic inequality. The Khalsa was to represent the pure, fighting for the establishment of true, correct form of religion. From 1699 to 1708, when Guru Gobind Singh passed away, the Sikhs continued to resist the Mughals in different theatres of war. Though he couldn't achieve final military success, but he brought the Sikhs nearest to it. Before his death, the Guru announced that henceforth, after my death, the community should be the Guru with the Sikh sacred text, that is Adi Granth or the Guru Granth. So the Guru Granth Sahib, in the presence of the community, should have the final authority on every matters related to community interest. So once the community was vested with the leadership and the sacred text became the Guru, it suggested that henceforth there should be no central leadership from the top. Rather, every Sikh was entitled to come to any decision as per the necessity of time. During the early years of the 18th century, when small Sikh jathas or groups fought against the Mughals, every group sought to operate as per its own military needs and necessity. This form of decentralization and absence of central leadership provided a new spirit of strength and enabled Sikhism to fight the Mughals and continue the communities to final success. After Guru's death in 1708, the leadership of the community was taken up by Banda Bahadur. He fought against the Mughals relentlessly from 1708 to 1716, when he was captured and beheaded by the Mughals in Delhi. The history of the Sikh resistance during the 18th century was a period of community resistance. One nationalist historian has pointed out that the Sikhs, by the middle of the 18th century, became a nation in arms. They stood forward to resist any form of outside invasion, and they continued to fight against Abdalis and could finally wrest Lahore from the agents of Afghan invader. With the capture of Lahore from Abdali's hands in 1765, the Sikhs issued a coin confirming the sovereignty over the city of Lahore, and it marked a new phase of Sikh history. The history of evolution of Sikhism from mid-15th century to the mid-18th century raises a few important points. In the first place, Sikhism, which was born as a peaceful sect communicating the message of love and surrender to God, by the middle of the 18th century, it has transformed itself into a militant sect ready to defend every form of military oppression and state tyranny against its subject. Does it represent any form of radical change from the original message taught by Guru Nanak? Yes, the Sikhism definitely became a religion of a militant community ready to resist military oppression. But the community was never forgetful of Guru's Bani and regarded them as the true representative of God, or sometimes regarded as Sabad Bani. And also Sikhism always believed in certain rules of discipline which were promulgated by the Gurus since the middle of the 15th century. So they continued to respect to the 10 Gurus and their teachings and the sacred text. In this sense, Sikhism did change, but it continued to carry the message of continuity as well as communicated the spirit of change in the community's behavior.
Finally, it would also be uncritical to project the struggle of the Sikhs as one of linear growth engineered by a homogeneous group of people. The Sikhs of the 18th century, however, remained divided into different subgroups, though the institution of the Khalsa prevailed as their overriding voice. As a result, there were occasional frictions and differences of opinion in the ranks of Guru's followers, and the community did not always speak in a uniform voice, although it had always been an ideal which it sought to attain even in the midst of its critical years of history.